Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to introduce you to the new Replace node in Wrap3. Let's start with an example. Here we have two models. The models have different shapes but the same topology. In this particular case we are using two scans from 3D Scan Store wrapped with the same base mesh. However, you can apply exactly the same approach to a couple of sculpts created from the same base mesh, or, if you're a character artist, to a different version of your character. Whatever the case, for now, let's just call them Model A and Model B. Let's pretend that both models have some specific features that I want to combine in my final result. Specifically, I want my mesh to look mostly like Model B, but I want the facial part to be taken from Model A. I'm also not satisfied with the hand pose, so I want to borrow that from Model A as well. In other words, I have two models with the same topology and I want to copy some parts of one model and paste them to another. I could have done this manually in any sculpting software, but it would take me a fair amount of time, so I'm going to show you how to do that in seconds using the Replace node in Wrap3. Let's go ahead and create one. As you can see, the Replace node takes three inputs. The first input is a geometry from which you want to copy the polygons, which is our Model A. The second input is a geometry into which you want to paste the polygons, which is our Model B. And the third input is a polygon selection. Let's create a Select Polygons node. Since both models have the same topology, it doesn't matter which one of them you're going to select the polygons from. For this example, let's use Model A. I'm going to switch to the Editor tab. Note that my base mesh has a set of predefined polygons. Each polygroup is highlighted with a different color. First of all, I'm going to select the head and neck area. I would like to copy the hand posture, so I need to select the hands as well. Okay, I have all the parts selected that I want to borrow from Model A. Let's go back to the 3D viewport. As soon as I connect my polygon selection to the Replace node, the computation will start. Let's give it a few seconds to compute. Alright, now you can see the combined result. Note that the head and hands were seamlessly replaced with the corresponding parts of Model A, whilst the rest of the model remains unchanged. When I switch between the nodes using Control and click, you can see the difference between Model B and the final result. Note that the transition between the models is almost invisible. Let me give you a better idea of what has actually happened. First, let me disconnect Model A. I'm going to move my models into the same position. Here you can see the difference between the shapes are quite significant. Let me show you what would happen if I were to simply copy the vertex positions from one model to another. To do that, let me turn off the seamless fitting algorithm. As you can see, combining the two parts seamlessly is not a trivial operation. If I turn on the seamless fitting again, the algorithm will not only translate the polygons of Model A, but it will also deform them to achieve a seamless transition between the two models. I can also create a number of iterations of the algorithm to achieve even more accurate results. It's worth noting that the algorithm has some limitations. To demonstrate this, let me first unplug Model A. Note that in my example the models have been nicely aligned. Let me add some misalignment by rotating one of the models 45 degrees. I'm going to run the algorithm again. You can see that this time the algorithm has failed. It's highly recommended that you align the models by rotation and scale beforehand to achieve good results. Let me show you one more interesting application of the Replace node. In this example, I'm going to use a very nice bundle of high-quality ear scans that I downloaded from 3dscanstore.com. It contains 10 male and 10 female ears in both OBJ and ZTool format. Let me create a load geometry node and import the scans into Wrap. In this example, I'm going to use only the male ears. Let me load all the models as a sequence. I'm using the F key to fit the model to the view and the S key to snap my camera to the nearest axis. I'm going to turn off wireframe and also rename my node to ear. Let me also assign a different color to the mesh. The last thing before we continue is to set the maximum frame number to 9. As I'm switching between the frames in the timeline, you can see the new models being loaded from the sequence. Okay, let's imagine that I'm a character artist and I want to transfer the ear shapes from this dataset to my characters. I'm going to show you a quick and automatic way of doing this. Let me turn on wireframe for a second. You can see that each ear contains large numbers of polygons and its topology is not consistent from one model to another. The first thing we need to do is convert each ear from the dataset to the same topology. I'm going to use a standard head topology that comes with Wrap3. Let me call my node base mesh. I'm also going to subdivide my base mesh using the subdivide geometry node. The next thing we need to do is align our ear scan to the head. I'm going to do it manually by editing rotation and translation values. Okay, let's adjust it from the side view. Alright, looks good. Now I'm going to wrap the ear scan with my base mesh topology. I don't want the eyes or the nose polygons to be part of the wrapping process, so I need to tell Wrap that those polygons are free. To do that, I'm going to create a Select Polygons node. My preferred way of doing the selection is to select an edge loop around the ear using Shift and click. Then I can hide the polygons, and I can easily select the ear polygons by double-clicking on them. Now I'm going to click Unhide All and invert my selection. Now that we have 3 polygons selected, we can create a wrapping node. Let's turn off the auto compute option and plug in all the inputs. I also recommend to set the smoothness final parameter to 0.07, which will make the wrapping process more robust. Let's go ahead and click the Compute button. The wrapping is going to take some time, so let me speed up this part of the video. Alright, the wrapping looks almost perfect. Let me hide everything except for the wrapping results using Control-click. As you can see, our mesh is no longer aligned to the vertical axis. I'm going to use the Fix Symmetry node to make it perfectly symmetrical again. Let's turn off the Preserve Volume option to make the computation faster. Let's also set the Side Dominance parameter to -1 to copy the shape of the wrapped ear to the other side. Okay, what we've just done is taken the base mesh with the ear shapes from the real scan. If I switch to the next frame, the next ear scan will be loaded and the entire process will be recomputed. I'm going to run this process over each and every scan in my folder automatically. To do that, I'm going to create a Save Geometry node. Let me choose an output folder and set the file name to ear wrapped with 2 hash signs at the end. Let's go ahead and click the Compute Frame Range button. In the pop-up dialog, I'm going to leave the frame range from 0 to 9, and I'm going to set the number of parallel processes to 2. With that done, let's click the Start button. The computation is going to take 10 minutes, so let me skip this part of the video and get back to you when everything is ready. Okay, if you look at the output folder, you can see that all the files have been computed and saved. We only have one step left, and to demonstrate it, let me create a new project. Let's go ahead and load the previously wrapped ear models. Let's call the node ears. I'm going to set the maximum frame number to 9. If I switch between the frames on the timeline, the next model from the folder is loaded. Let me translate the mesh to the left. Now I'm going to load my character mesh. Okay, let's imagine that this is my character that was created from the same base mesh. Let's assign him a texture. I'll also turn off the wireframe. What I'm going to do is to transfer the ear shape from my dataset to the character. To do that, I'm going to use the replace node. I'm going to plug the left model into the first input and my character model into the second input. For better quality, let me set the number of iterations to 100. The last step is to specify which polygons are going to be replaced. To do that, I'll create a Select Polygons node. I'm using the same trick as before to select both ears. Okay, one more thing before we start. Let's press Ctrl and P to open the Preferences window and set the projection type to Perspective. Let's plug the polygon selection into the Replace node and see what will happen. Now, if I switch to a different frame, another ear model will be instantly set in place. Using this approach lets you quickly adjust your character's look by swapping parts with previously created models. Another nice thing is that this method doesn't change the topology or the vertex order of your mesh. Okay, that's it. I hope you liked the tutorial, and I want to say a special thanks to 3D Scan Store for providing us with such beautiful scans. Good luck and see you in the next videos.